Hi guys, I'm here with a tutorial today on how to do some Tear Bears, and I do not have a sample of what they look like actually because I don't have any here. I don't think I even have any layouts or projects that have Tear Bears, even though I make so many of them. I like them, I just don't use them in my projects, but they look something kind of like this. I actually do have a picture of one here, and that's kind of what they look like, but I'm sure you guys all know what a Tear Bear is. And I have had a couple of requests to do a video. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you the materials that you need. This will probably be a two-part video. So in this first part I'm going to show you the materials and kind of the basic steps to get started making your Tear Bear. So you're going to need some kind of tool to trace your pattern with, and this one is just one that I got at Michael's, and it's just a double-ended stylus. Anything that has a pointy end, basically, that you can trace. The reason why you want that is because when you go to trace your image, you're going to want to be able to tear it out, and if you have something that is kind of tracing it and making an indent at the same time, it makes it a lot easier to tear out in the next part of what we're going to do. So where did I get my pattern from? theberryscrap.com has a lot of really cool patterns. They have bears, they have dogs, all kinds of things. I'm sure there are many other places to get them, but this is the place that I shop when it comes to Tear Bear items. That's also where I get all of my mulberry paper from. So theberryscrap.com has a lot of things. So with the pattern, you're going to get all of the pieces you need to make this animal plus some extra. What I'm going to do today is just make one of the peekers, which is just the little head with the little paws peeking over, just for time's sake, because they are extremely time consuming. With this pattern you're going to get all these pieces, and I'll show you what you'll need from these pieces, but I'm just going to leave them here for a minute while I show you the rest of the items you need. So you've got the poker thing. You're going to need some brushes. They're just metal brushes, and mine, you can see, have Tear Bear fuzz in them because they've been used a lot. Whether you're getting a metal or a brass brush, it doesn't really matter. I like the metal one personally. I don't know why. They're probably the exact same thing. I just like the silver one. And you're going to need also just a nylon brush. These you can get in a lot of places. I know some dollar stores have them. I know the Berry Scrap has a set that you can buy. I've seen them on eBay for as cheap as $1 for a set. They're actually pretty much the same thing as the automotive brushes, and they work exactly the same as the Tear Bear brush. I've bought them from the Berry Scrap. I've also bought them online for $1, and they work the same. So you're going to need those. I have heard that people use a toothbrush, and that works okay. For me, it wasn't enough tearing on the bear. You know, the metal one is obviously going to tear the paper a lot better than a toothbrush, but some people use a toothbrush, and you certainly can try that if you don't have these materials and want to try this out. You're also going to need some pens. Now, you can use any white pen that you have, and you can use any black pen that you have. These are the ones I find that work the best for me. This is just a white jelly roll pen from Sakura, and you can also get this at the Berry Scrap or pretty much anywhere. And then I actually use Copic pens for my eyelashes. I use two different ones. I use a 0.5, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I use a 0.5 to trace around the eyes, and then I use a 0.1 for the eyelashes. And you'll see how I use these when we're actually assembling the bear, and that's probably going to be part 2. And you're also going to need some chalk. This is Color Box chalk in creamy brown. I bought this, and then I bought the refill on eBay or something, I think for like $5, and I've been using the refill for a couple of years now, and I make a lot of bears. I actually do custom orders for a couple of friends of mine and some people I've met through different online sites, and I still do custom orders, and I make a lot of bears, and that refill has lasted for a couple of years already. You're going to need glue. I would use quick dry glue. Or really any kind of tacky glue, I guess, is fine. I just use the quick dry because I'm impatient. I have used zip dry, I've used Fabri-Tac with the bears, and honestly this stuff just works the best. I don't know what it is about the tacky glue that works the best, but it just does work really well. So I would recommend using that over the zip dry or the Fabri-Tac or whatever glue you use. you're gonna need scissors, and the next, and I think one of the last things, there's actually one more, and I'm looking at my table and I don't see it here. Oh, I see it, never mind. I'll get to that in a second, but you're gonna need eyes. These are printed eyes. They have some at the Berry Scrap that you can print. The ones I like are from myscrapchick.com. This is a site that has a lot of Cricut files that you can cut out on the Cricut, those SVG files. But they also have the printable eyes. And I couldn't find them for a while, so I emailed the owner of the site and she said she would put them back up. She just forgot to re-upload them when she redid the site. So you should be able to find these eyes there, but they also have them at the Berry Scrap. There's something on my camera, I'm not sure what it is, something right here that's getting in the way. It's like the handle on my camera, so I apologize for that, but I'll put the links below. So anyway, you're gonna need the eyes, the noses. I know the Berry Scrap used to sell them. These are cutouts. If you have a Cricut, I believe it's the Animal Kingdom cartridge. It has a rabbit on there, and I cut out the nose of the rabbit, and I've cut out like 1,000 of them or something, and I just keep using them. So when I need more, I'm gonna have a tough time figuring out how to cut more. But anyway, you can of course just, you know, freehand cut them out, but I make dozens at a time, so I'm not gonna sit there and cut out all those little noses. But they do have some that you can print out from the Berry Scrap site, and you can just cut them out. Oh, and the last thing, I saw it behind me when I was talking. I thought maybe I had left it somewhere. You're gonna need a water brush. If you don't have a water brush, no big deal, you can use a paintbrush. You're just gonna need some way to get water onto your pattern. So you can use a paintbrush or you can use a water brush. Alright, so now 6 or 7 minutes into my video, I'm finally gonna get started on the bear. So the first step is you're gonna need to trace your pieces onto your mulberry paper. With mulberry paper, there's a rough side and there's a smooth side. You always wanna trace on the smooth side. It's just easier to use that way. I'm gonna make just the peeker bear, which is the head and the 2 little paws, and he kind of peeks over, you know, your photo or, you know, your card or whatever, and it's just a little cute way to use a tear bear without making a whole one. But if you're making a whole one, you do the same steps just with more pieces. So you need the head, you're gonna need the muzzle, we're gonna trace that on white though. You're going to need an ear, and you're gonna need the paw. And those are the only pieces you're gonna need for the peeker. Now the biggest tip I can give you on making tear bears is always double layer your bears. It's very tempting for me, especially when I have like 50 of them to make, to just do 1 layer, because instead of cutting out 50 heads, I cut out 100 because I double layer them. It's very tempting to not do that, to just cut out 1 layer. But when you add a double layer, it just makes it look so much better. The edges sit more flush. It's just a much better and nicer look to your bear. So always cut out 2. So before we tear them out, not cut them, sorry. Before we tear them out, we're gonna trace them. So we need 2 heads. So what I'm gonna do is, just like I would trace with a pencil, I'm gonna trace with my stylus tool, the pointy end, and I'm gonna trace the head. And when you get done, you should see an indented head there. Let me zoom in a little. Okay. So you can kind of see the indented head there. And then you're just gonna trace the second one. Okay, and you're done with that. Now you're gonna need 2 ears. Now because you need 2 ears, you're actually gonna need to trace 4 of them, because you need 2 left ears and 2 right ears, because remember, we're double layering. So again, I'm gonna trace them. And you do wanna leave about a 1/4 inch space in between the pieces, because if you get them too close, it becomes hard to tear them. Well, I shouldn't say it becomes hard to tear them. It becomes hard to tear them nicely, and you end up just kind of with a big blob of mulberry paper. Okay, and then we're also going to need 2 paws, and again, because we need a left and a right, we're actually going to trace this 4 times. So just right below where I traced the head, leaving a little bit of space, I'm just going to trace 4 paws. 2 left and 2 right. Now if you notice when I'm tracing, sometimes little lines shoot out, sometimes the pattern's not perfect. It really doesn't matter. When you tear it out, it's never going to tear perfect anyway, which is kind of the reason I double layer it, because none of them are going to be perfect, but if you have two that are stuck together, if you have one side that's shorter and one side that's longer, you can kind of overlap them so that it does look nice. And it just gives you a cleaner edge when you double layer it. Alright, so now you have your pieces, and I've already traced the muzzles on here. With the muzzle, one thing I am going to say is I do use 3. I actually trace 3 instead of 2. The reason why is the white mulberry paper, for some reason, is a lot, I don't want to say flimsier, I guess it's a lot more delicate than any of the other color papers. So when you're tearing it later with your brush, it tears away a lot easier and a lot faster. And to keep the fluffy look of the berries, you're going to want 3 layers. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, and this is the last part I'm going to do on this first video, and then I'll take a pause break and we'll go into the second video. Now you're going to want to tear out your pieces, okay? And to tear out your pieces, you have to wet them first. Now, the reason I like to use a water brush is because it's just really simple to apply the water to your paper. Well, if your brush works, it's really simple to apply the water to the paper, but if you get water in other places, it's really not a big deal. If you get too much water, just let it dry, but this is good. This is how you want the paper to look. This just makes it easier to tear the paper. If you have too much water, it could just kind of fall apart. If you don't have enough water, it's going to be hard to tear. So when you tear, one of the biggest suggestions, or one of the biggest tips I can give you, is hold both parts of the paper. Some people hold this and just tear away. You have to grip this side and grip this side, because when you go to tear it, it's not going to be simple. It's going to give you, I can't decide what word I want to use. It's going to give you a little bit of resistance there. That's what I'm looking for. So hold this side, and you're going to pull the paper away. Okay, so you're kind of separating the paper one side from the other. Now after you've done this thousands of times like I have, it's pretty easy, and the paper just kind of tears away, especially if you let the water soak in, but at first it can be difficult because you're not used to it. Now once you've torn out your 2 pieces, I always look and see which one looks better, because you're going to have to glue one of them on top, and right now I think this one looks better. So what you do for all of your pieces, and what I'm going to do is just show you on this one. I am going to go through the steps with the other pieces, but I'm going to fast forward it so it doesn't take up so much time, but I will show you with this one and explain. You're going to want to double layer them. So when I double layer them, I just glue the top onto the other top. Some people glue the back of the paper to the back. I don't do that. I just glue top to top. That way the top shows and then the back is on the back. Okay. So I don't remember which one I wanted on top. Here we go. So what you're going to do is add a little bit of glue, staying kind of towards the center. If you get your glue too close to the edge, when we get to the last step, which is actually fluffing up the bear with the brushes, the edges won't fluff if there's glue on them. They won't fluff at all, and the glue won't come off. So just be careful not to get too close to the edge. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for all of the Terre Bear pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and do that here and zoom out just a tiny bit. But I'm going to fast forward this part. If I can get in frame. There we go. I'm going to fast forward this part. Alright, so we have all of our pieces here. We have our muzzle, we have our head, our 2 ears, and then our 2 paws. What I'm going to do is go ahead and stop the video. I'm going to come back with a second part, and give these some time to dry, and then come back with the second part to show you how to actually build